when people hear the name Dr. Jack Kevorkian, what they think of is death.
Yeah.
But I've seen nothing but life coming out of you. You're one of the most alive people I've ever met.
Yeah, but they forget that death is a part of medical practice. You know, doctors forgot that entirely. You're supposed to make their life as full as possible. You help them into the world. You didn't in the old days, the midwives did it, and that made doctors angry, taking that business away from them. So they called them witches, and that's why you got the witch hunts. So they had, the doctor is supposed to help you into the world, and why not help you out of the world? See, that's really inconsistent.
Death is a natural process.
It's part of life. You can't have death without life, and vice versa.
You start dying the day you're born?
Right then, you start dying. The meter runs. And most people want a death that they don't know. They don't anticipate, like condemned men. Or, they know they're going to die on a certain day. I suppose that terrifies most people, But when you're really racked with pain and suffering day after day, and all kinds of tragedies hit you around you, the war and the destruction in the cities and all this, you get depressed. And then if it's prolonged, then you see that this is not worth it. There are people who say that it's just not worth it. And so they choose to die.
There's a lot of pain in this world, and some people go through pain every day. I guess all of us in some way experience pain every day.
Yeah. See, you're fairly young, and what's your name? Contrary.
Oh, she's almost 20 years younger than me.
Yeah.
I'm almost 54, so I'm right behind you.
But you look pretty good for your age.
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Socks older than you.
I don't mean physically. I mean in general. But what was the rack? What track were we on?
We were talking. I said that every day you experience pain. Everybody does.
Sure.
It's part of your daily routine.
Sure.
Some people constantly, various degrees.
Sure. That's the philosophic school where that is their main point. The Stoics. Stoics have no use for doctors. They have no use for anything that makes life painless and tolerable all the time. They take what's dished out to them, what nature dishes out, just like any animal thing they have to do. See? And we think that men are the only one, humans are the only ones that think of death. We don't know what animals think of. They may be born with all that knowledge anyway. It's just a part of being alive.
I was laughing a little bit about how you're now part. Oh, by the way, could you shut that door a little bit? That might be better. And let me take this off of you for just a moment.
Sure.
We'll put it right back on. The shock to me is in the last year or so that I've been covering entertainment is how much I deal with death.
Yeah.
Because I can put a story out there about a celebrity dying. I spent my day today talking about the child actor Gary Coleman, who died last month, and the fight over his remains and his funeral and everything. And that will be a very high interest story.
Yeah.
People are just fascinated by death, aren't they?
Especially if it's in a notable person, death of a notable person. But the common, a homeless bum on the street or something, they're not fascinated by that death. In fact, they're rather relieved.
Yeah. People are fascinated by death, I guess is the point.
Well, it's so unknown. That's an absolute unknown. We don't know what life is because we don't know what death is. If you knew one, you'd know the other. And nature is smart, made us ignorant in both. We don't know. So we spend our lives just speculating.
Another fascinating thing about death is, and I gauge this by the public's interest in what they read or want to watch. A couple of weeks ago, actually one of the most popular stories, most read stories that I've written this year, was a story about somebody who's been dead since 1962, Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
I wrote a story about a photograph, a single photograph of her with John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy. And a lot of people read that story, but when you die, it almost freezes and make your legend and makes you a myth in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. She was attractive. I was a college student. I think I don't know, junior or sophomore. And we'd often go to a movie, you know, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, just to avoid studying. And I saw this movie. I wasn't particularly interested. And I saw this woman on the screen. I said, who is that? I walked in on the movie after it had started. So I saw it again just so I could see the credits and see who that woman was, you know. It turned out to be Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, she caught my eye too early, and she stood out from the others for some reason. I don't know why.
I think it's interesting how, because she died relatively young, she was in her 30s, that we think of her now differently than if she had lived. But we think of her perhaps in a kinder, more mythological way.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, why would we think otherwise? Can you guess?
Well,
she became famous all of a sudden. Maybe that's because she had a good press agent. I don't know. She became famous. And that made her a very interesting person, see. And then the legend developing out of that would be almost predictable.
Well, there are others. James Dean dying so young after, I think, 4 films. But it seems like, you know, they say only the good die young. You've heard that.
Yeah.
But not, you know, the point I'm making is it just is interesting to me how death actually immortalizes somebody.
Yeah. You know, as kids, I often say we used to walk past cemeteries as kids. You know, we were, say, 10 to 14 years old. And we'd philosophize about death, all of us. Kids are interested in that. And that's a big failing of education in this country, is that kids don't study philosophy in junior high school or even grade school.
That's that old joke, Jack, that we talked about, that people are dying to get into the cemetery.
Yeah, people are dying to get... Well, actually, I can remember when I was in college, I had to take a course called On Death and Dying, you know, about the stages of death. And that, I think, was probably the first time in my life that I actually confronted death and seriously thinking about it. But
see, that's one of the big taboos of life, used to be. Mm-hmm. We live with taboos, you know, in our lives, which control us in a way. We're enslaved by taboos. You know, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. It's like opposite sex marriages, you know, gay marriages. At one time, that was really taboo. Talking of death was taboo, too. And we still have taboos. And the only thing I don't know what will really break it, but the education system is wrong because it just feeds the intellect with fodder. So you memorize things and things you never use, and you study things you don't care about. You know, you're actually enslaved, and you're condemned 9 months of the year to, you know, losing some of your rights as a child, and the system is, you can't correct it. It's gone way beyond that.